Indiana at Notre Dame. Notre Dame favored by 7 points. It's the battle of Indianapolis college football superiority. The last time they played was in 1991. How do you feel about Indiana at Notre Dame to round out the first round of the CFP?
So this is a matchup we don't see very often, and I wish we
Nope.
did. I really wish
Right.
we did. Because Indiana and Notre Dame would be a great I feel like that'd be a great rivalry game at the end of the year to kick it
Yeah.
off, you know? Kind of like a Tennessee Vanderbilt, a Georgia Tech, an Auburn Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan,
Right.
Florida State, a great rivalry to cap off the season. I feel like that would be one of um, but rest assured, I think it's going to be a really great matchup because I really like Curtis Rourke at quarterback. I think he's a really good quarterback. But I think Notre Dame gets this one done because the reason why, are they playing in South Bend?
Yeah, they're playing in Notre Dame.
Okay, they're playing in South Bend, Indiana. That's a hard place to play on its own. Touchdown
Yep.
Jesus says it all, right? So listen, Notre Dame dropped one game this year, and it was against a bad opponent. Let's be realistic. Northern
Bad Northern
Illinois,
Illinois team.
I bet dude was like, quarterback, or excuse me, coach was like, hey, never again. We're not doing
Nope.
this again.
Right.
And they've been just tight knit ever since. And they've won games convincingly ever since. They've been one of the most consistent teams all season since that loss. Notre Dame's going to win 2 scores, I think. Because Indiana, like I said, they dropped. My whole prediction with Indiana was going to be how they performed in the Ohio State game. And they underperformed by my standard.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't perform as well as Nebraska against Ohio State, and we covered that
Right.
about how Nebraska came close to being Ohio State.
Because they shut down Ohio State's run game.
Exactly. They were able to establish that early on.
Yep.
It's like, "Oh, they're going to play the run game. Okay, let's cap that real quick." And they did. Indiana was insufficient. It's like, "Oh, the only way we know how to respond is through quarterback play and air yards."
Yep.
And it did not prove successful for them.
Right.
So that's the only reason why I say Indiana loses this matchup. Now, I hope I'm wrong because
Yeah.
I'm not a Notre Dame fan by any means. I think they're one of the teams alongside Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama who get overblown every year in the college rankings, AP and power
Right.
and coaches poll. Every
Right.
year, it's like you see them in the top 10. It's like they haven't done anything.
Uh-huh.
I'm right there with them. But as right now, sitting where I'm sitting, Notre Dame's going to beat them by 14 easily because they're just the better team. And
Yeah.
really are. Indiana's Cinderella story is going to come to an end. And I love what Cignetti has done with Indiana. I know he's a proven winner, and I think he might even get better
Yeah.
in years to come. But as of this year, is it Marcus Shannon that is the coach of Notre Dame?
Marcus Freeman.
Marcus Freeman, excuse me. Marcus Freeman has got his Irish where they need to be, and they
Mm-hmm.
could be in the potential hunt. Not necessarily win the national championship. They could be in the hunt for a national championship if
Right.
they continue to get improved week to week. So,
Right.
with that being said, Notre Dame wins.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on a Notre Dame win. I feel like I might be leaning towards a coin flip on this game because, as much as Indiana looked bad against Michigan, albeit it was a win, and then they looked even worse in that bad loss to Ohio State, they're waiting to make up for that. They are
I think
waiting to
so.
get back on national
I hope so.
television, just like in the Ohio State game or in the Michigan game, and really show that they're able to play to a higher level. Because I
Right.
knew they were going to lose to Ohio State because the way they played against Michigan. And even if they didn't play Michigan that way, I didn't expect them to come out and beat Ohio State. So now they
Right.
have the chance to make up for it. Indiana, quietly enough, has the #1 rushing defense in the country. But here's the
Yeah.
context to it. There's only one team that rushed for more than 120 yards against Indiana, which is a great stat, right? But 7 of those teams that they played didn't average more than 120 yards rushing for the season. You look at
That's
Jeremiah
also an
Love.
interesting margin.
Yep. You look at Jeremiah Love, 1,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, and then the running back Price as well. They're going to have something to say about that for sure. And when you look at the rushing offenses that Indiana stood up against with that number one rushing defense, 109, in ranks of 134 teams in the country, 109, 100, 125, 87, 114, 128, 102. 84, 116, 57, 105. So damn
Right.
near everybody that they faced was in the bottom 100 or bottom 40 of the country in terms of rushing yards per game. So Indiana, yes, they were the best rushing defense in the country, but again, that 105th strength of schedule is going to have something to say about that when you provide context.
You're absolutely
And
right.
I know they're itching again to look better than they did against Michigan or Ohio State. I want them to look better than that. I think that they could come out and possibly win this game if they do look better than that. Now, Notre Dame comes in with an elite defense as well, ranked third in the country in terms of points per game, and they have a very nice rushing attack as well. But the rush defenses that Notre Dame played all year were mediocre to bad. The best one was ranked 37th. And then their last game, they led up 35 points and over 500 yards to a bad USC team whose quarterback just entered the transfer portal. And
Right.
Lincoln Riley we're kind of wondering what's going on with the University of Southern California now. I don't think they're
Yeah.
too far gone. Obviously, Miller Moss is the one that's in the transfer portal, and
Well,
Jordan Mayava, I think, is what his name is.
yeah.
He's the one quarterbacking now for
How far
USC, but
how far along does Lincoln Riley follow suit? Is what I want to know.
right, right, 100%, which we hate to say, but it's very true. It's very true. I think Indiana really has to work on protecting Curtis Rourke, their quarterback from Notre Dame's pass rush. If you look in the Ohio State game, if you look in the Michigan game, he was rattled. They were getting to him. They were getting him off his spot. They were having him hitch a couple times, and they were able to, really get him off of his premier game. Now, it could come down to a Riley Leonard versus Curtis Rourke showdown through the air, into which then it's like, I feel like I'd flip a coin between Riley Leonard and Curtis Rourke. Yes, we haven't necessarily seen that Notre Dame passing offense come along this year as much as we'd like to, but we've still seen a good play out of both of these teams. Again, it's in Indianapolis, it's in Notre Dame, so it's going to be great to see.
I've
I feel
seen
like this is
Riley
a pick
Leonard.
'em, man. I feel like this is a pick 'em, so I'm going to take Notre Dame at home. They're favored by 7, but I think this could be a 1 to 3 point ball game potentially. I really
I've
do.
seen Riley Leonard under the lights at Doak Campbell when Florida State is are obviously at their best with a Jordan Travis healthy.
Yep.
Um, and Riley Leonard was making me scared,
Yeah.
biting my fingernails.
Yeah.
I'm watching it
What with
live.
Duke or
Yes,
Kentucky? Duke.
Duke.
Is it Duke? Got you.
And with Texas A&M's head coach now,
Right.
and I'm just like,
Mike Elko.
yeah, Mike Elko. I'm just like,
Yep.
they might
Yeah.
have us, and then they don't because some miracle stuff happens. But
Right.
that alone has got me bought into Riley Leonard as a quarterback.
Right. As it should. As it should. I think Riley could have looked a little better this year too, but
Oh,
that's neither
absolutely. That's neither here nor there.
right, neither here nor there.